So she said, Daniel, what's good? So very excited to be here this morning. We are behind schedule. I apologize about that. So I'm going to shut up and I'm going to go ahead and call our youth panel up front. You all can, it's 3 panelists and a facilitator, so I will let you all sit in the same style that we did yesterday's panel with, and I'll add another chair mic over here. But if you all can start making your way up here and get comfortable. And we're going to go ahead and get this thing started, because I tell you what, every time I have to present about the conference and talk to somebody, I was like, I can't wait for you now, because they're going to light it up. So we're about to go live and put y'all on social media to talk to the people. That's here in this building. This is the headquarters for our organization, the Transformative Justice Coalition. We welcome everyone, certainly, to come in and walk through it and look and learn this history, because it's a history that you must know and you must hand down to those that are not here today, to those that are not here via social media, IG live stream, Facebook live stream, maybe on social media platforms that might exist. We do have a really aggressive and a very good calendar of events that's been going on for this conference today. We want to cover a lot of different topics. We have a lot of wonderful panelists that are coming in to speak and be a part of this. I just want to say, welcome, and we're so glad that each of you that are here in person and that each of you that are here virtually have decided to pick up the baton of our famous Congressman John Lewis, our leader, and carry it forward to today. But with that, I want to welcome the founder as well as the president of the Transformative Justice Coalition. Some refer to her as the Queen Mother of Election Protection. We call her the voting rights champion of America. She's none other than Dr. Barbara Armstrong.
You see You might have seen it on the internet, because it's been circulated, of the discovery of the graves where they had earthen down, where they had slaughtered and killed Cheney, Goodman, and Swerve. And you see that picture of the unearthing of their bodies, and you're reminded that it wasn't just a Pettis Bridge, right? That it was so much more, so many more sacrifices that brought us to this moment. We will always love this man. That's right. Tonight on the national broadcast, we have been honored that his brother, Samuel, will participate in the national broadcast that will be held out
because we often in these social justice spaces work in these silos. If it's voting rights, I'm only about voting rights, and therefore, like in the strictest narrowest term. And so we're not readily seeing these other spaces. I'm environmental justice, that's where I'm going, and we don't see the impact that we're actually dealing with the same population in multiple different spaces. And so people are compounded, the hurt is compounded in these spaces. There is not right now adequate protection, right? That's why the Justice Roundtable that I'm a part of, we have a whole re-entry working group that is spent on trying to win this fight, that every time someone re-enters into society or someone is trying to get back in that status, that we are advocating for the government to say you've got to provide clarity, you've got to provide empowering ways, you do need to ban the box. The power of things like ban the box is not just with housing, but with jobs. It says that an employer is not unable to take someone's history in consideration, but let them get past the 4 years and let them get in, because the more you start to talk to them, it's actually restoring the humanity in this thing, right? Because what we're doing when we ban them from housing, when we ban them from jobs, we're saying that we're going to treat you based on what you did, and there is no redemption in that. And so we need to make sure that we are having that same energy on the restoring a citizen fight so that they can be able to go and vote. Because if they're dealing with housing insecurity, what's the likelihood that they're going to even have the chance, the time, and the opportunity to show up?
And I want people to be very clear about this. No federal protections. And Breon will tell you that when we did our hearings around the country in 2018 on voting, that we asked the question about homelessness.
Yeah.
And what we asked was of the homeless advocates, how many of them were working to register people to vote? And I want you to know, they looked at us like we were aliens, from outer space. Because they had never thought of it. So, that lack of connectiveness that Breon was talking about, he's right. And we really got to teach, live in the world of connections, and understand how all of this is interconnected. The other day, I was speaking to a senator and his staff about the For the People Act. And I said to the senator that, talk about the criticality of protecting those who have felony convictions, being able to vote, and how we have to make sure we preserve that part of the act, and that would immediately restore the right to vote. And I said, you got to understand, it comes out of the concept of social death.
Yeah.
And his staff said, huh? These are people writing that, y'all.
That's right.
And I said, yes, social death. That the theory is that if you had a criminal conviction, that socially and legally you were dead.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
For all practical purposes. Didn't matter if you served every bit of your time and paid every cent of your fine.
Yeah.
You were socially dead for the future. And that is the concept that underlies and is the basis for disenfranchisement, everything we talked about. Unemployment, no educational benefits, everything comes out of re-imprisonment easily. All of that comes out of the concept of social death. And then you add racism on top. Oh, no. Cameras. Right here.
Yeah. Good morning, Barbara.
Yes.
Barbara J. Pierce.
Yes, so it's good to see you. A hero in the movement.
Good to see you again.
Yes.
I'm also from, with NAACP from Alabama.
Yes.
And I'm from that old county, Shelby.
Uh-oh.
Shelby versus Holderdale. Shelby Holderdale. But to piggyback off what you all are saying about not being able to rent, a lot of people don't realize that if you have a felony, you know, I'm all about the whole person.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get life insurance.
That's right. That's right.
You can't get life insurance. You know, and the deal is, you know, we were talking about cash and check, cash apps and all that. You know, there are a lot of times when black people die, we have to try to go out somewhere and get some money together to bury someone. So, can't vote, racism, you can't get life insurance, you can't get anywhere to live. God help us, please.
Socially dead.
You did, like you said, we did.
Socially dead. It's called social death.
Yeah,
That's a term you ought to use, because that's how offensive it is.
it is.
And remember that in Illinois and other states we have to fight, and it's still true in most states, you can't even participate in certification programs.
Right.
So hairdresser, barbers, welders, plumbers, all the certification programs are barred and banned for people in many states if they have a felony conviction. So this social death notion. So we need a resurrection movement, don't we?
Right.
Yes. We need a resurrection movement, and we need to really fight, to change all of this. And I'm glad he's coming up on a voting panel, because it has tremendous impact. I noted, okay, that's a right, right, I'm sorry. Your question. Yes, sorry for that.
No, this is like, I guess, more, you guys can probably insight on this. Like, so we have the midterms coming up.
Yes.
We just had a special election in Ohio, and we know, like, after presidential election, turnout tends to get a lot lower.
Yes.
You know, like, I was volunteering in Ohio to see if there wasn't the same energy.
Yes.
So I guess, like, it's more of like, there's no one right answer. How do we create a culture of voting in the United States? Like, because other countries, like, they get like 70% on a bad year. You get like 50% turnout on a good year.
Yes.
How do we create voting? Like, it's not like a burden. It's not like something we have to jump through all these hoops. How do we create that on a more grassroots level and gain that awareness?
Excellent question. Who wants to take it?
I'll start. So I think that we need to acknowledge first that especially when it comes to voting and getting out the vote, there's a trust gap. There's a trust gap that we don't talk about. And a lot of the stuff is going to get out the vote in a very transactional way. That when it comes down to, because a lot of people, so voting rights, and Barbara and I talk about this all the time, the fight for voting rights is about power.
Yes.
The reason people are showing up to the ballot box is because they want access to be able to have self-determination on all of these other host of issues. And so we focus and you know, a lot on the get out the vote, but it's what happens after people have voted, those receipts being brought to bear, that if we haven't addressed that trust gap. And so one of the ways that we can, and at the Daniel Initiative, we've been looking over the past couple of years at this population, the disenchanted, which is not just the disenfranchised, right? Those who can't or you know, even don't vote because of apathy, but even those that do vote and they feel like, look, this still isn't working for me.
Right.
I'm not getting the bang for the buck that I'm investing. And sad to say, this is a space where we don't do enough research. We don't know our voters. we continue to, you know, make it just turn out, but you really don't know the trends, the appetites, the thoughts, the why they turn out to vote, and in a way that I think, you know, is to our detriment in the broader movement. So I think the first step is to acknowledge that trust gap, and then start to remedy that way that restores confidence, not just in elections, but in the people themselves, in the black voters themselves, that they do indeed know what they're talking about. Not just on how to get people out the vote, but when they say, this is what is going to allow me to breathe, this is what safety looks like to me, enshrined in legislation and policy, that we're being taken seriously. Because otherwise, we are standing in a spot where the government is about to squander 150 million people that turned out to vote. And mind you, it could have been much more if we didn't have felony disenfranchisement. It could have been much higher. It could have been much higher if we had acknowledged those 700,000 people that are in pretrial detention that can vote but don't understand that they can and don't have the ability, the access to be able to do so. And so all of those things compound and erode that sends a message to these voters of, why should I turn out to vote? Because they don't care about my voice. And so we need to really acknowledge and tap into that trust gap.
Wow. Thank you, Brianna. Yes,
I
Marcia.
was saying there's an information gap. Because during the presidential elections, there's a lot of information being tripping over ads about who the candidates are.
Marcia, loud.
I was saying during the presidential elections, there's so much information. We're tripping over information about who the candidates are and the issues are. But when it comes to state legislative elections, local elections, you have to hunt to find that information. What day do I vote? When there are special elections, runoff elections, I mean, you really have to be devoted to finding that information. It's not available to you. And so, you know, local elections, you know, it breaks my heart about the low turnout there. Because those are the elections that really impact our lives very directly. You know, the president's about national policy, but my school board, my mayor, my city council, it's about how I live. And that's where we're not showing up. And part of it is because we don't have that information. We don't even have the information about who's running. Judges. You know, how many times we go to vote, there are judges on the ballot, and I don't know who's running. Or referendums. Or referendums. And so, in order to have this culture of voting, we also need to have, in addition to being responsive to the voters, we also need to have that information about how it is, where it is we go to vote. And then also, we make voting so hard. You know, you have to register, you have to do it within the deadline. If you move, you have to re-register. You have to know where your polling place is. You have to, hopefully you show up at a polling place that has the equipment and the machines, and they're not broken down. You have to be willing to stand in hours-long lines. And so it's really this combination of responsiveness, information, resources that we need to really truly build a culture of voting.
And I think to piggyback off of that with the voter education, we can't wait until the midterms, right? Like about voting, right? Because what we've learned from this panel is that it's the foundation for everything, right? It's the house, it's the concrete slab that everything, every issue that we care about rests upon. So I think not waiting until 2022, but starting that work like last year, right? And one example is like, I work a lot with the Transformative Justice Coalition for the Georgia special elections, right? And they were saying, hey, we're gonna discount it because people don't come back out to vote. We just had a big turnout, right? But when you have boots on the ground, and every single day you're fighting at the bit, every single day we were on a conference call talking about strategy. Like, that's how you get people educated about the issue. That's how you understand your voter, and that's how voters turn out. So I think a combination of that will help us get out that same amount of people for the midterms.
You know, we have another question, but I just want to point out one thing about this question. And that is, actually really is sold the record, all our families brought it. Think about this. In the states where they have automatic voter registration, they have significantly higher turnout.
Yep.
Why is that? It's not just because people are registered, but when they go out and ask the voters why they turn out more, they say because their states want them to vote.
That's right. That's right.
Voters respond to official government making it clear that they want them to vote. So think about it. During elections, how many billboards do you see from your county or your state saying, please vote? Don't vote for, it's not about who you're voting for, it's
Right.
about we treasure you as a voter. Please vote. National statistics have been done, and they say the most critical element of voter turnout is voter contact.
Yeah.
We've known this for decades. The studies have been out there for 15 years now. And they keep getting repeated. Every time they repeat it, they come up with the same results. That if a voter registers, there's only a 30% probability that they will turn out and vote. That if a voter receives 2 contacts, that probability increases to 50%. And going radio ads, whatever, it also raises, it's faster in fact. The probabilities increase a lot faster than they do just coming from us. So that is a reminder what the work is that we got to do on our ground. Because we can have that kind of impact by doing that kind of work. So I'm sorry, I just had to layer, that on top of all the great stuff that you've said, because our family's smoking right here.
My name is Jacqueline Weaver Davis, and I'm also from Alabama.
All right, I'm house.
And I just wanted to say, along the lines of what you just said,
Yes,
along the lines of what Alabama said,
yes,
why don't we start something where we educate our youth?
yes,
In the high school, where they could maybe change some of the curriculum to include a class
yes,
on voting, where not only is it talking about voting, but also about how the things that you do in your life from this forward on may change your ability to vote. If you are caught in an act where you are arrested, you may not be able to have that right to vote any longer. That might change some of their actions. Also, you could do something on the lines of changing the curriculum in the college level.
yes,
They all have orientation.
yes.
Because I taught in the academic area, and I know about these courses. And so what we could do is possibly include this into that.
I agree.
And bring on up a generation that is fully aware of their voting rights, who know where to go and when to go to register for their vote. And they can later tell others, and it will just.
You're right.
It will just.
Listen, it's infectious. And you're so right. And later on, then Whitfield is going to tell you about the Voting Rights Institute that we're creating. Now, we said the schools won't do it. We'll do it. So you're going to hear more about that, because that's a major project of TJC. That's one of our biggest projects we're working on right now. So we're going to talk about that.
To the community is put out there right, and if they spoke about some of the economical conditions that They make men chase after, these young brothers chase after. They talk about boycotting certain artists. Myself, I believe that there's certain artists in music that should never get out on the mainstream. Should never be out on the mainstream. But I think that there is 80% of the music out there from the hip hop should have a chance to put that message out there so they can bring that credible message to the community. See, if the message is credible, then the source messenger, that's us, we will be able to receive that message and be able to act on that message in a positive way.
Hey, I got a thought, I want to spit it out there while it's here to give you what you need, because when we as reporters respond, we give the people the violation that they're undergoing.
It wasn't necessarily conscious rap that got him, it was the cracker that got him saying. Can you remember back in the day?
That's why I shared the Crazy Bone podcast, because that's what Crazy Bone was saying. That the music industry had a meeting, and they wanted to invest in private prisons. And they only want to promote music that makes people go to jail. You know what I'm talking about? They started closing.
Yo, man, you're going to hear some fire today, because I was at all of that. I was in the buildings with all of those people.
Right.
With all the Europeans, and trust me, you're going to find out why we didn't see you on the record, why we didn't see you blow up. You're going to find out today.
Because you're one of them, they trying to censor.
I am.
They trying to censor y'all.
I'm changing.
Y'all speaking on the bill. They don't want to see them. They can't control them. They got to move. Yeah, right. They can't control them, and then what they're speaking about is to help master the movement. See, they don't want the rising up. They want the, you know what I mean? Okay, let's have a run around and go to jail, not rise up and be together. They don't want to hear that type of music. You know what I mean? And that's what the different groups, like, you know what I mean, they was doing. You know what I mean? X-Clan, EPMD, and all this. Them groups was too powerful for the world. You know what I mean? They didn't want to hear that. They want to hear.
See, it started in 1970 or 69. What they did was, when the Black Revolution started, with Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, the CIA did a study of black people in their music. Okay? So one of the things they came back and they said what we found out about black people in their music is that black people, they do what their music tells them to do. They do it. So they would say it loud. So when they did that, and that study by the CIA now was completed in '74. That's when the year hip hop started. And when hip hop started, it was the voice, it picked up the voice of the streets. And when it first started, nobody knew what was going on, because they didn't know what we were saying. Because we would do little block parties and stuff, and when you was on the mic, they didn't know what you would say. Peace, Allah, you know, my si Allah rule, you know, if you talking like a 5%, or if you use street slang or ebonics. So by the time they found out what everybody was saying in their music, it was too late. The conscious wave was all engulfed from all of the people from our generation. And then in 1993, that's when the gangster wave came, and they kept it there.
NWA.
It was 88.
Well, actually 87.
But see, but when NWA came out, they were a novelty. Everybody wasn't on that way. So they were just another group doing that. 93 is when they got stuck and only said, we're only gonna now bring in that music. So it was a sinister, more than we can understand. And like
CIA had a co operation just for us.
yeah, that COINTELPRO.
COINTELPRO.
So, and then they opened up the rap squad. NYPD opened up their own rap squad. That would anytime a rap group would come to the city, they would monitor them. They would surveil them. Even when Public Enemy first came out in 1987, They just saw the jackets. They saw this, and because Public Enemy put a couple of groups out before, but all they saw was that picture of you with the crosshairs. They had a whole unit in Long Island with pictures of everybody coming and going, and did surveillance on them because they didn't know what that was. Now, you attack the most vulnerable person because that's called cheating. We want to win, we're small, we're light. We have to hit and run like guerrilla warfare because they call our broadcasts through the years guerrilla news. What we have to do, we have to get the person who is the biggest perpetrator or the best manifestations of what we are saying here today. And then we have to find that one individual and we have to destroy his record label and destroy him. Now, if you want to, in my opinion, look at who you could single out and you beat the crap out of him and then everybody else that looks at you beat him, then they'll fall in line. We could use Drake. Because Drake is a perfect example of what everybody's saying. He's the embodiment of this because why? Drake has a Jewish mother and he has a Jamaican father. He's from Canada. Drake does not identify as being black. When he was interviewed, he said, oh, the African Americans in America, they love me because they identify with what I say. But Drake was raised as a Jewish man. He had a bar mitzvah, he had the yarmulke, and they practiced all of his Jewish culture. And they never used the slur, kike, which is a Jewish slur. But if you listen to every record that Drake has, nigger, 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 is laced rampant throughout his music. So he's just, I can go on with a perfect example again and again, but you would have to take one of those people and you will have to hammer him because he's being honored with all of these awards to call us nigger. Okay, and if you're going to do it, you're going to have to get one of them and you're going to have to single them out and you got to beat the crap out of him with that cancel culture crap. See, the cancel culture crap is for weak people that they're attacking. They don't do that to the strong people. And that's the thing. We have to draw the line somewhere, like this brother said. And if you target it in a grassroots approach, you will win. But you got to pick your target, and then all the ancillary support networks that individual uses, you have to bombard them with your attack. And then you will win.
Systematic attack, that's what they do to us. When I had started doing this about a month ago, I found, well, not a month, it was before around the Capitol riots actually, I do a lot of research. And so, when they stormed the Capitol, they called it, we were preparing for the 100-year centennial commemoration of Black Wall Street. So when I went and did my research on the Black Wall Street, trying to find out about all the other Black Wall Streets, I just come across some information. So when they stormed the Capitol, that was like the 100-year anniversary from when the white supremacists, the KKK, marched on Washington, D.C. And they wasn't called that. They was called Protestant Christians. So, and they had on their hoods and sheets. But they said, these are Protestant Christians. And they did a march in Washington, D.C. 100 years prior to them storming the Capitol. So, we got to take these type of things in consideration. And so when I looked at that, I'm saying, oh, this is the system that we're supporting and we're fighting to be a part of. We're fighting to be a part of a system that the KKK built. I got a minister license, but I don't like calling myself a minister. I don't even like using my minister license, all because of the Catholic Church. I don't want to be affiliated with pedophiles. With people we call it hide behind the banner, hide behind a Christian banner. So I don't want to be affiliated with that, so I don't use my minister license. And so when I looked up and I found out there's actually a word called hip-hopcracy. Like hypocrisy, but hip-hopcracy. And it's spelled HIPHOPCRASY. And you know what it means? To hold one's people accountable. And that's the answer to your question and what he's been saying. In order to stop what's happening to us, we have to hold us accountable. And that's what everybody's saying. You know, it starts with the parents though. You know, and the kids looking at the parents being influenced by media, loving stuff that's on TV. What do you think the kids are gonna do? And see, our generation, my parents' generation grew up influenced by the media, and all forms of like writing, publications, all those are forms of media controlled by Satan. And that's why it says Satan is the prince of the air, controlling the airwaves, the radio waves. And that's all that is. And so I want to know, what is the man's role in the upliftment and empowerment of our community? Starting again with Brother Ant. What is the man's role in uplifting and empowering our community?
Honestly, the man role is being a loving brother, a loving father, a loving son. When you standing on your 10 toes down and you're being this type of individual in your home and in your community, it like galvanize and influence others around you by you being this loving, caring individual. Because when I was growing up, different things like that was considered weak. Being smart, loving another brother, caring about everybody, that was considered weak. You soft. But I really never really had the type of hate in my heart like that. I can't push hate. I always tell people that I'm the individual that I'm cool with you. I don't know how to hate. I don't know how to dislike. So I've never been a grimy, backstabbing person. I've always been on, we have to get along, we got to be cool with them, like why would we tripping off them? But just because of the community and the neighborhood I was from, yes, I grew up in the Nixon Garden Projects. I am affiliated to the Nixon Garden Bounty Hunters, one of the largest gangs in the world, from the notorious Nixon Garden, the biggest project western Mississippi. And it was like the gift and the curse, being from that neighborhood. It taught me a whole lot growing up in Compton and Watts. It showed me how to be on the side of peace and be on the side of war. But as I got older, coming in and out of jail, it wasn't helping me individually, and it wasn't helping my family, and I wasn't bringing back nothing to the community because I was being, as they call it, a statistic. And being a statistic is not doing anything for you or the community or your family. And Marcella said it. It starts in the home, from your parents teaching you manners, from your parents telling you right from wrong. But it all starts in the home, because you can't go outside until you know the right from the wrong. Because if you go outside and let the streets in the hood raise you, all you may find out is wrong, 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 and that's not going to be a positive influence for the community, because a lot of them avenues send you right to jail. And I've never been an individual to glorify jail or to believe that I had to go to jail to make me a gangster or any of these different things. I used to always have a little thing with me and my older brother, Killer. His name Kevin, because the neighborhood called him Killer. And he always used to tell me, you gotta go to jail to woo woo. I'm like, no, I don't. You know, my alter ego is Nerdy B, because everybody knew me for being a nerd, a smart dude. I was an all-star basketball player in high school, won a high school championship. I breezed through school. I never thought about being a negative or bad influence. I always knew to be a winner growing up in my community, that's all I ever knew, because that's all I wanted to spread was positive energy. And if you negative and you bring in that type of vibe, I don't want it. I don't want it. Same thing I just told Jessica. I was like, all these different organizations, is how he just said, we're here, and Corey Bill didn't know. How he didn't know that we was coming to a city? How we don't know that we're all together in the same movement? We're all together. We have to bring everything back into the essence of how it was of black people as one people. And that's how the community grows and even get better, because we all in it as one. Community is togetherness. Community is brother and sisterhood. And the only way that it's going to be one brotherhood and one sisterhood is we all love each other. Because if you don't believe in the higher power, there is. God gave everyone a gift. You have to find your niche, find your gift, but continue to spread love and positivity and not hate, because that's the only way that things is going.
I was able to see that this man goes against nature, and we have to understand that. Everyone in this room can go out in the sun and put on a gallon of shea butter, and you'll just get a tan. If he goes out in the sun naturally, it will kill him. So there is a definitely that we are different by genetics. That you cannot deny that. You go in the sun, you get vitamin D to live. The doctor said you need to go out in the sun at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and at 9 o'clock in the morning to get the vitamin D or take the vitamin pill. They tell them you got to stay out of the sun. Do you understand? Just think about that. We are not the same. We are opposite. We cannot be praying when a police officer goes and murders a baby and they let him go, and we are out there trying to make him get arrested. We are not praying to the same God. We're not praying to the same God. Because they praying that he gets away with the murder, and we praying that he goes down for it. So that's what I would say is, what could we do to uplift and enrich and restore our community as African men, descended from African men, is we have to love each other unconditionally. We have to go against everything that was ingrained in us from the white European Western world structure and return back to the ideals of African, Yoruba, African value systems, African culture, because we're not tapping on our strength. Everybody want to know why we haven't, because that's why. Every other ethnicity is tapping into their nation of origins and their ancestry for their strength and their power, and we are not. So you can say what you want, but you'll never win in this country using a bastardized example of America. It wasn't built for us, we built it. And we have to tap into it. What did they do? We had this on when they brought us here. They beat it off of you. They beat your language out of you. They beat your clothes off of you. They beat your religion off of you. Your gods, they beat it all out of you. And they gave you what they wanted you to do. That's why you'll never win. They gave you a short-circuit self-destruct button of white supremacy embedded in you. That's why a brother can kill somebody. That's why they can kill you real quick. Because, hey, the white man told me if I kill a nigger, ain't nothing gonna happen to me. I just won't kill that cop. Why you put the gun down when the cop comes? Shoot him too. Shoot him too. Or stop shooting your brother. So listen, this is not rocket scientists. This is nothing you need a college degree for, brothers and sisters. We have to love our family out of our ancestry and our traditions to win. Like I'm not asking you to do nothing different that no other group in this country is doing.
I just want to say that he's confirming, affirming, and reaffirming some things that I've been saying and even thinking about. What he said about us not connecting with our roots in Africa, and that's what I've been doing. ACT knows that.
Friends of African Union.
Friends of African Union.
Yes.
I communicate with our African brothers and sisters every day. They call me king. I'm like, don't call me that. I'm not, I don't like those type of stuff. And so that's where we're missing that. Just like he said, you got Mexicans sending money back. Filipinos send. It don't matter what race, they send money back to their country. And so that's one of the reasons why black people can be singled out and bullied, pushed around in America. And only in America and in Europe where black people are still, they're not sending money back to Africa, And so it's a disconnect, and the devil knows this. Like I say, these people are weak. They don't have no backbone, no structure, no foundation, or nothing. They stand alone. They're standing on sand, when we should be standing on a rock, which that God gave us, And I wanted to say earlier, what they say is, not I, but the scripture, I planted, Apollo added the water, and God added the increase. So that's what how we got to look at it with these seeds that we're dropping. I met Ant. Ant introduced me to Marcellus. Marcellus introduced us to Andreas. And that's how it got to be. That's the connect that we have. I planted. I wasn't selfish with my resources. I don't even talk about my organization, but I got like 200 organizations up under me. Utopian Umbrella, when I started for my son passing away. And I, share resources with all our people. And that's what people say. Our people don't do that. So I just plant seeds and water that seed. And let my brothers come in and do the same thing and let God add the increase. And that's how we add these leaders in our community. And what I want to let Marcellus build up on that next is, what is man's role in the uplift and empowerment of our community?
Just to sum all this up with what we've been talking about, I got an affliction, and my affliction is kind of like Mike Tyson. Whenever I hear something, it's always like a rap lyric comes into my mind. No, I ain't saying rap, but it goes back to Public Enemy. I remember listening to that, and it said they stole our religion, our culture, our God. By the way we act, many of us have even lost our minds. And that comes from not having that culture that we can refer to, that land that we can reach out to. And it's important that we reestablish that land. Right now, I think Queen Mother, or in the Tulsa thing that they put together in Tulsa, are sending some people over to Ghana. Me and Antonia and Harvest have another friend named Corey up in New York, and he's in Egypt right now. So Marcus Garvey hit it on the head, I think, all the way around the board. That's probably why they tried to destroy him, because just imagine if he was able to get 1 or 2 ships back across that sea, and we were able to have that connection with those families, our family. That would have been our connection. So they've been demolishing us at each turn. But we have lights of hope, like roads and concrete, to continue to grow and give our message and reach back to those people. What role we play the role, I think we talked about this yesterday, we play the protector role. Somebody comes rushing in here right now, most of the men, we would have to stand up and go to the forefront and fight that battle. And we got to be willing to fight that battle. But we got some strong women too, as we listen to them in there. And as I reflect back to one time we had called a basketball tournament, and the kids told us, yo, we're going to fight. So I called and tried to stop the kids. Called the coaches and said, yo, my crew say they're going to set it off, or they're going to get jumped, or whatever they come. And they told me, don't worry about it. We got this. We're going to have a talk beforehand, and they're going to be nothing to bring them. So I brought them. Had the basketball game. After the basketball game, the fight broke out. So I look around, and it's about 3 adults trying to break up the fight. There's me and 2 other women. And the men that had told me that they was going to take care of it, they was nowhere around. And these, young people would cut each other and stuff like that. So we do have some strong warrior sisters, but it was up to me that day to take the forefront to try to break the fights up and stop some of the violence and two strong women. I tell that story because it was music, it was behind the music that they were all going at. Reflecting back to what I said earlier, everybody wants to be a rapper right now. Everybody. I think it costs $25 to go to some studio. It may not be good quality, but you can put it up and get it kicked out. It's almost like basketball. Remember, everybody wanted to be a basketball player, but we all know that dream is so short and in between. I mean, it's a triangle. Everybody plays in the 8th grade. A couple people play in high school, and then a half a person go to college, and then a quarter of that percentage will make it to the pros. It's a small window. This rap thing is a small window. So as we're teaching the rap, we must incorporate something where we teach them the business aspect of it, where we teach them, as they used to tell us in basketball, you gotta have an alternative because you might not make it in this. But in the back of that kid's head, you can't tell him you couldn't make it. I was 6'2" in the 8th grade. You couldn't tell me I wasn't gonna be 6'7" or 6'8" by the time I finished high school and I was gonna be in the NBA. But when I stopped growing and I didn't grow, I didn't develop my game. So I never could handle the ball good enough to transition to another position. I was just a shooter and a rebounder. So that dream deferred. When dreams defer, you know what happens. If you put all your eggs in that one basket. So back to being the male in our society, we have to, as the young brother said, reaffirm that image. It ain't about being no gangster. Right now, my age, and maybe because of the age and experience, I respect the men in this room and in this country and in this world that are raising their families. And we give the Good Deeds Awards out, but now we're going to start giving the Good Father Award out, the Good Male Award, to men in the community that's not, making music and not playing sports, but they just everyday good men in the community walking around. Because we got to support those type of men and make those men, give those men the awards that some of these rappers are supposed to be getting. Put the energy into the campaigns, into showing different faces, because they got us all twisted with this meeting. As I said yesterday, hoodwinked. We think more black and Latino men go to jail. And that's not true. And the first time I heard it, I said, man, you got to show me some stats, because I know because I've been in jail, I'm thinking jail is all it is. But that's all they show. They don't show these black and Latino young people struggling, riding the subway, riding the bus, working 2 jobs, trying to get this education. They don't show that. Black Truth should show, maybe we need to talk to them so they can start showing.
Yeah, we will.
They're going to call it true stat stories. You show the factual numbers of what's really going on, because they got so much covered up.
Yeah, and that's what the platform is all about. It's about giving us the ability to speak our truth, put our information out there, because social media is the #1 way to disseminate information today. So we control that platform. And when I say we, all of us in here. So any input, hey,
you gotta take one from Donald Trump. Fake news.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Donald Trump on my TV got stuck on Donald Trump one day. The news channel he got, and I was just listening to it. And I kind of left it on there, and I was like, damn, if I was white and I was listening to this, I would definitely believe some of this stuff.